June 25th, 2009. It is one of those dates burned forever into the collective memory of the entire world. Do you remember exactly where you were when the news broke? The internet literally started to buckle and groan under the weight of millions of people searching for one single name. One moment he was preparing for a massive high-stakes comeback tour, and the next, the king of pop was gone. The world stopped, but as millions of fans mourned the loss of a global legend, a much darker and more complicated story began to emerge behind the closed gates of his estate. Michael Jackson left behind a legacy that was as massive as it was messy, and let me tell you, the sheer scale of the financial drama that followed is enough to make your head spin. Can you even believe that at the moment of his passing, the most famous man on the entire planet was reportedly buried under a mountain of debt? We are talking about a staggering $500 million in the red. It seems totally impossible, right? How does a man who sold hundreds of millions of albums, packed out the biggest stadiums globally, and basically invented the modern music video run out of cash? People were whispering about unpaid bills, massive bank loans, and a lifestyle that even a king couldn't sustain for long. Every headline seemed to carry a new theory, adding layers to the mystery of the man behind the mask. It felt like the empire was crumbling before our very eyes, leaving a trail of questions that no one seemed able to answer. Was he really out of money, or was there something much deeper going on behind the scenes? But wait, because this is where the story takes a turn that absolutely nobody saw coming. In what might be the greatest financial comeback in history, ironically occurring after the artist was no longer here, Michael Jackson became a posthumous goldmine. Since that fateful day in 2009, his estate has generated billions of dollars. It's almost like his value tripled the very second he stepped off the stage for the last time. The irony is thick enough to cut with a knife. The man who was reportedly struggling to keep the lights on at Neverland Ranch became the highest earning deceased celebrity in history year after year. So who was actually pulling the strings during all this? The mystery of the Jackson fortune is a labyrinth of legal battles and high power moves. As soon as he was gone, the questions started flying everywhere. Who was in charge of the money? Where was it all going? And why are his children, Prince, Paris, and Biggie, still making headlines today because of their father's bank account? The transition from total chaos to a well-oiled financial machine didn't happen by accident. It involved names like John Branca and John McClane stepping into the spotlight to manage a legacy that was teetering on the edge of total ruin, while Katherine Jackson watched over the family's interests. One of the biggest turning points in this whole saga was the "this is it" effect. Do you remember the massive hype? That raw, behind-the-scenes rehearsal footage for his final tour became a global sensation almost overnight. It was a heartbreaking and electric reminder of his pure genius, and it did something no one expected. It completely revitalized his brand. That movie wasn't just a tribute, it was the engine that kickstarted the financial recovery of his entire estate, proving that the world wasn't ready to let go of the king of pop just yet. Before we continue into the deeper secrets of his spending and those hidden deals, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. We love seeing how far the MJ fandom reaches. Now, here is the billion-dollar question. Do you think Michael was actually broke, or was it all just a clever smokescreen? Rumors have persisted for years that he might have been playing a long game, making secret deals and moving assets to protect his wealth from everyone trying to get a piece of him. His spending habits were legendary, sure, but he was also a guy who had the incredible vision to buy the Beatles' publishing catalog when everyone else told him he was crazy. To really understand the fortune, you have to understand the man who built a literal fairground in his backyard and treated the world like his own personal stage. Was he a financial disaster or a misunderstood genius who knew his value would only peak after he was gone? The truth is hidden deep within the vaults and the boardrooms, and what we found will absolutely shock you. We are just getting started exploring the life and the bank account of the most iconic performer to ever live. The stage is set, the players are ready, and the money is moving in ways you won't believe. It is a story of fame, greed, and a legacy that refused to die. To understand how someone could be $500 million in the hole while still being the most famous man on earth, you have to look at how Michael lived. This wasn't just a rich lifestyle, it was immersion in a world of his own making. Take Neverland Ranch. This wasn't just a home, it was a fully functional amusement park, a zoo, and a movie theater. Maintaining that dream cost $5 million every year. Imagine the electric bill for those roller coasters and the food for exotic animals. Then there were the shopping sprees. Michael could walk into a store and drop millions on antiques in minutes. It was like he lived in a fairy tale where money never ran out, but the paper trail was leading straight toward a cliff. However, Michael wasn't just spending, he also made what might be the smartest move in music history. Back in the 80s, against everyone's advice, he bought the publishing rights to the Beatles' songs through the Sony ATV catalog. He paid around $47 million, which seemed crazy then, but that move became the backbone of his financial survival. Even when struggling for cash, he owned the rights to the most valuable music ever written. Imagine owning a piece of music history that never stops playing. This deal was a time bomb of profit, and it eventually saved his estate from bankruptcy. It was a masterstroke of business genius hidden behind the sequins and the moonwalk. When the dust settled, who actually stepped in to handle the chaos? Enter John Branca and John McClane. These two men became the official executors of the Michael Jackson estate, and their roles were critical, but he chose Branca and McClane in his will, and they hit the ground running. They had to sift through the debt and turn the MJ name back into a profitable brand. Can you imagine the pressure? You're in charge of the King of Pop's legacy with $500 million in debt staring you down. Did Michael truly trust them, or was it a final move to protect his children? The family dynamics were a soap opera. The will was specific. Michael's mother, Katherine Jackson, was a primary beneficiary alongside his 3 children. But there was one detail that sent shockwaves through the Jackson clan. His siblings were excluded from the direct inheritance. This created an immediate rift. While Katherine provided stability, the rest of the family watched from the sidelines as the estate began its massive financial turnaround. It was a bitter pill for those who had been by Michael's side since the beginning. Then there were the kids, Prince, Paris, and Biggie, the boy known as Blanket. For years, Michael kept them hidden behind masks to protect their privacy, but overnight, they were transformed from mysterious children into the heirs of a billion-dollar empire. Their lives shifted from quiet halls to being the faces of a global brand. Watching them grow up in the shadow of this fortune has been a journey as they navigate the weight of their father's legacy while becoming themselves. It is a story of transformation that feels like something out of a movie, but the empire was fragile. At the time of his death, Michael's reputation was struggling. The estate had to work overtime to rebrand the King of Pop for a new generation. They weren't just selling music, they were selling a legend. Would you be able to manage $1 billion debt while the whole world is watching your every move? The pressure on the executors to keep the MJ brand alive was immense. They had to bridge the gap between a debt-ridden superstar and the global icon we know today. The IRS war was a brutal legal saga that dragged on for years. The taxman claimed the estate owed hundreds of millions in back taxes and penalties because they undervalued Michael's name and likeness. The government saw a gold mine, but the estate's team fought back with a shocking argument. They claimed that at the moment of his passing, the King of Pop's image was worth a mere $2,000, the most famous face on the planet being valued less than a used car. They highlighted his debts and the public scandals to prove his commercial appeal was at an all-time low. It was a high-stakes gamble in the courtroom, but it worked. A judge eventually ruled that the IRS had significantly overvalued his assets, saving the estate a fortune and ensuring the children's inheritance stayed intact. It was a massive victory for John Branca and John McClane. The federal tax agency was ruthless, but that was just the beginning of the financial fireworks. Just when we thought the numbers couldn't get any higher, news broke about a deal that shook the entire music industry. Sony purchased half of Michael's publishing catalog for a mind-blowing $600 million. Many experts claim this is the largest deal for a single artist's assets in history. It proves the King of Pop is still the ultimate investment. This isn't just about music, it's about control over his public image. The comment sections are absolutely exploding over this. Fans are divided. Is the estate being greedy by selling off his life's work, or is this the only way to keep the MJ name at the top? Speaking of his work, let's talk about the secret vault. Rumors have swirled that Michael left behind thousands of unreleased songs. Some say there are complete albums hidden away that he felt weren't perfect enough to release. Can you imagine what's in there? Masterpieces we've never heard, collaborations with other legends, or sounds that were ahead of their time. Fans are dying to know if the estate will ever open the doors. But with every new release, the debate reignites. Should we respect his perfectionism, or does the world deserve to hear his lost art? While the vault stays closed, the family drama is wide open. You've probably heard about the recent legal friction between Biggie, the youngest son, and his grandmother, Katherine Jackson. Biggie actually filed a lawsuit to block Katherine from using estate funds to pay for her legal fees in an ongoing battle against the executors. It breaks your heart to see such a public rift, especially when it involves the very legacy Michael worked so hard to build. It's a stark reminder that even with $1 billion safety net, money can't fix everything. Prince and Paris have tried to stay out of the line of fire, but in the world of the Jacksons, the spotlight is now always on. But wait, because the story of Michael's fortune is about to enter a whole new chapter, the upcoming biopic Michael is already generating insane levels of hype. Directed by Antoine Fuqua and starring Michael's own nephew, Jafar Jackson, the film is expected to be a global blockbuster. The world is waiting. Think about what Bohemian Rhapsody did for Queen or Elvis for Presley when this movie hits. Michael's streaming numbers, merchandise sales, and overall estate value are projected to skyrocket into the stratosphere. It might just be the final piece. So here we are, years after that day in 2009. Was Michael Jackson a financial disaster or a misunderstood genius? He lived on a scale we can't fathom, spent wildly but invested in the soul of music when it mattered most. His legacy is more than just money. It's an enduring mystery that keeps us watching. King of Pop will never be forgotten. Keep the moonwalk alive. What's your take? Let us know in the comments. Subscribe for more deep dives. See you in the next video.